Hello, neighbors. Welcome to another great Tuesday night and another great live down here in the Nook and across the internet into Grande Prairie. And I want to welcome to the channel Nick from Latitude. Welcome here.
Hi, how are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty good. Actually, it's been a pretty good day. I'm actually still on holiday, so it's been a really good day.
Yeah, that would be good. I wish I could say the same.
Yes, but you have one of the best jobs. So like it must be like a holiday going to work to
It's
work
still
the
work. I
stills.
love it, but it's still work.
Of course. Good evening, Chris and Tyler. Welcome here, you guys. Yes, we're getting the show on the road. And, I said in the intro, Latitude 55, but I want to hear a little bit of Latitude. And then actually, Nick, we just said hello, and I'm going to be asking you a few questions about your journey. But first, let's just tee it up in terms of the distillery. Latitude 55, where are you guys? Where are you located?
We're in Grande Prairie, Alberta. We're located, if you're familiar with the Grande Prairie in northern Alberta, we have had two locations. We were in a really small warehouse the first few years we were in business, and then now we're in the old fire hall. 1968, I think it was, built, and we're right downtown, right in the heart of it. It's a pretty cool space. I'll be honest with you. We have a small tap room, kind of cocktail bar, small restaurant, and then the majority of the space is our distillery. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like a really cool space you're in now, the old fire hall, and they got a tap room and you can do events. I've seen your website. Yeah. I just haven't been there. Now, I used to live around Grande Prairie, so I can kind of vaguely think of where you are, but when I was up there, you guys weren't there.
Now, yeah, absolutely. We're
new. This is a different whiskey bottle than the last year when I talked to someone from your house. So you guys are continuing to evolve and release batches, but I want to hear a little bit about how you got into distilling, Nick. Like, have you always been in Grande Prairie? You've just been always part of Latitude, or is there more to your story? Can you share a little bit? How'd you get into it?
Sure. I'm from Manitoba, born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Nice. For those of you that are familiar with Canadian whiskey in general, just outside of Manitoba in Gimli, about 45 minutes drive north, we have the Crown Royal Distillery. So I started working as the head distiller there in 2010. I had a background in operations and process and production, so started working there, and then basically learned how to distill, how to operate, these giant 10-story columns that we kind of had there. And I was responsible for making, I think it was at the time, it's probably more now, but 33 million liters of pure alcohol a year to put in barrels and, weight. So the maturation house and the distillery were all located on one site.
Okay, so usually, Nick, I just want to tell you, I've had the great pleasure of interviewing some folks like yourselves, but almost to a person, they start like in the garage, or they start, at a friend's place, or whatever, on the acreage, a little bit bigger, but all of them are that kind of place. You started making, what did you say, 33 million a year?
Yeah, 33 million liters of alcohol, pure alcohol a year. There's a lot more because obviously we're not putting anything in barrel at, that 95% range. It's a lot more. So yeah, it was a pretty cool process. Wow. So 33 million barrels, 1.4 million barrels on site at any one point in time. It's a great big, one of the biggest Canadian operations that's ever been in existence, right? So
yeah, pretty cool. And so that could be an amazing like learning and experience. That it also kind of connect you with different people in the whiskey business, or are they so big they kind of have their own gravity?
They're so big they have their own gravity. I mean, the beauty of starting there and learning process there for me was I got to meet a lot of really people that have been in the industry for 40, 50 years. I'll give you an example. The guys working on shift, we had two guys that had been there for 50 years and not retired. They were both in their 70s, started when they were, 22, 21, had worked through there. And just to gain, the insight on process and what to look for throughout the whole process from people like that was I think a huge benefit for me and my overall growth as a distiller, right? So
yeah, no, that sounds really nice. Like that person connection, that idea of history in the business. That's really cool. So then you're a Manitoba fellow. You start in Gimli. Sounds great, but you're in Grande Prairie in Alberta. So
yeah.
when did you say, like, you know what, I want to get more into this craft stuff, or I want to like to be a little more creative, or like how did you end up over at Latitude?
You know, so that's kind of where my story kind of does a big right turn, right? So I had worked prior to that. You're familiar with McCain Foods. Years before that, I'd worked in that operation, and I had a lot of good friends from there, and one of them was in Grande Prairie as basically the human resource lead for a bigger water and wastewater company out in Grande Prairie. So I got headhunted out here to do that. So I thought my distilling journey at that point in time was kind of over and done with. This is back in 2015, 2016. I came to Grande Prairie, focused on that. But, you know, in meeting people and meeting friends in the friend group that I have here, people always were super interested to hear about, oh, you know, this is what you did. And I had a few good buddies basically say, hey, we want to do a craft distillery with you. We think it'd be super cool. You know everything, which I didn't. There's a big difference between running a craft distillery and running a 33 million liters per year. Totally different equipment, totally different process. Yeah. But I did have a really good operations background. So I thought about it for a few months. And then Latitude was born. We had 4 initial partners and myself got together and got that small space, researched some equipment, bought some equipment over, in 2017, 18, and then got it in place and started from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally different process. You're basically relearning how to run a still and all that. Relearning all that type of stuff, although it's very similar, the chemistry and everything behind it, obviously. It's running a batch still versus running a true continuous still there's a big difference. So
yeah, no kidding. So here, I'm just going to show your website briefly. They can see us and your website. Because, hey, look at that. $50 deal for a charcuterie board and a bottle of wine. That sounds pretty good.
We do. That's one thing that we use the front of house really to promote all the brands and our cocktails and our products. It works really, really well.
Well, and that's where I actually wanted to show for a second, just to see the brands that you work through, because we're going to talk whiskey very quickly. I hope this bottle hasn't been opened and it's asking. But I do want to say you do make other products though. So on the screen here, we can see there's a rum, a gin, that Broken Oak, and then this Latitude 55. Do you want to walk through these are these the 4 categories or?
Yeah, we've got more than 4 at this point. So that's the kind of beauty behind it. So we have 2 brands. We've got the Broken Oak brand and the Latitude brand, and I think you've had spoken with Sean from Broken Oak a while back, and Sean and myself and his team in Latitude have kind of come together, and so Sean's brands are now part of our kind of portfolio, and we also always have had these Latitude brands. So we have a couple, 3 different rums, 2 different whiskeys, and very different. And I'll say, like, even within the rum category, we've got a spiced rum that we inherited from Broken Oak, and we've got our Kakwa rum, which is a very traditional, traditional rum. We've done some really cool stuff with that as well, as far as some barrel releases and that over the years. And then we've got obviously our Latitude 55 whiskey, the Northern Hair gin, and a number of other products. So
yeah, well, that's awesome, and thank you for touching on because at some point I was going to say what's going on with Broken Oak, and because I wish I had that bottle still, but I actually gave it to another YouTuber because I want to hand on and
yeah, for sure.
More. stuff out there, and it was Sean that I talked to last time. So you guys are still kind of come together, but he's still part of things that are going on.
Yeah, he is. He's part of things. He's a great member of the team, and we're all trying to kind of, you know, how and you see it all around. The distilling industry kind of like the craft beer industry. You know, there's probably like a 10-year lag from distilling the beer in my mind. And you know, to be successful, sometimes you gotta, you know, come together, as it were. So that's what we've done.
Nice. Okay. So I said it before, I want to know more about this process, but I want to be opening it so I can start breathing in my glass and I can start nosing it. So I do want to talk about here. I'm just going to zoom in on myself because you probably have the bottle too, but sorry. This is the bottle that I have in front of me here. It says Latitude 55 whiskey, and it's got some interesting information you can walk us through there. I like seeing the non-chill, and there's a few other things. So talk to me a bit about this whiskey while I try to get it open, which is always semi-embarrassing online.
So I do have a bottle of it too, because I'm gonna share that experience with you. Mine's already open.
Sure.
But this is our third batch. To be very, very transparent with everybody, we do very small batch products for the Latitude with our Latitude whiskey. So third batch. First, this is a wheat-based batch, a wheat whiskey that has been aged, finished basically in our Cacao rum barrels. So 3 years wheat, finished in rum barrels, as compared to some of the other ones. So this is 5 barrels. This is 5 barrels worth of whiskey that we have here. No more, no less. Once it's gone, it's gone. We'll go into batch 4 and kind of move on. Batch 1 and 2 were like 2-barrel runs and a 3-barrel run. Very small batches. The label is exactly the same, besides the information that you know, that's going to change on every batch. The percent alcohol changes on every batch. So one of the things that I do with the team that I have is we'll sit down, and once we pick our barrels, we'll go through and try it at 50%. We'll try it at 48. We'll try it at 46, 43. I like 43 for some reason. It's a good proof for me personally. We'll try it at 40, and then basically what we'll do is we'll say, okay, what gives us the best experience, you know, from a tasting perspective, and then kind of work towards that in the proof. Once we've determined it, there's a process. We don't have, you know, 500 or 600 barrels lying around. That, you know, we're probably at any one time have between 70 and 100 barrels. So that's our process and how we do specifically for the Latitude.
I'm loving the process. I like that that you hit it at different proofs and you find out this is what the right experience is. I heard 5 barrels, but I want to clarify, are they like aged, you know, you hit that 3 year, like an ex-bourbon, then you finish in rum? Are they aged in rum, like your own rum, or talk to me a bit more about the barrel program?
Great question. So our barrel program, we're in used wood, 100%. Yep. I use used bourbon and used rye barrels typically, although we have started to recooper in the last year and a half. We've started to recooper some of our barrels. There's a cooperage in Onano, Alberta, that we utilize. That is, it's pretty cool. Like that to me, you know, fantastic set of guys. We get them to recooper our stuff, and we bring
hang on, because I was in a big controversial conversation, which isn't this one, about STR. So when you say recooper, do you mean that kind of thing, like a shave and a retoast kind of thing, or what do you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. So they basically break down the barrel, basically shave everything down, and then rechar the barrel for us. I use the 3 char typically when we're redoing that. But you know, again, when you're getting used barrels, which most people do, if you look at the history of kind of how whiskey of the world works, everybody's grabbing ex-bourbon barrels, right?
Sure.
Whether you're in Scotland and Ireland and Canada and Japan.
It's because that huge market legally demands they start fresh. So if they're starting fresh, we're happy to pick up what they've started.
And it adds some really cool components to whatever it is you're making, right? You're starting and it depends on the distillery, you know, that you pick from. And so I have bought rye as well over the years, because I think that I bought Pendleton rye and some other stuff specifically because I love the rye, and I want that Four Roses bourbon. We have a lot of Heaven Hill and Four Roses bourbon X barrels here because I do like that style of bourbon. So yeah,
nice. So coming back to this though, that was good to hear about that you're getting into that. But what I think this one, if I may, is that this one is it all ex bourbon and then finished in your rum, or
so they're ex bourbon barrels. 3 out of the 5 barrels are actually we put this down after they were originally ex bourbon barrels. Pulled out our cap rum and then put this whiskey in the full 3 years.
Yeah,
okay. For the full 3 years. 2 of them were in just ex bourbon barrels that we threw our wheated whiskey in. So
okay, now sorry, I lost my train of thought, but it was I was trying to play down a proof. Now I'm glad you walked through that. You start high and you go down, you come back up because you want to get it at the most enjoyable. And I'm glad you said it because when I see a 40%, it tends to feel like, have the accountants helped you reach this percentage because it is still a whiskey and you get the most out of your small run. And I know that can be a financial pressure, but I'm hearing from you, this one actually at 40% is how it's saying. This is the one you wanted at 40%.
Yeah, you know what? So with this batch, and this is what I was going for on this batch. The first 2 batches we made were really robust, a rye and a wheat rye blend that were very robust in flavor. I want to be known for as a distillery a flavorful whiskey. I don't want to be super mild, and so even with this is probably our mildest, mellowest whiskey release that we've done out of the 3, but. It still, I think, has a great flavor profile, great palate. Finish is a little bit, is like, it is a little bit more like a rye, even if it's a wheat. It's a very interesting finish. Like for me, anyway.
You mentioned that, right? Because even on the nose, I was getting just a slight, almost a hint of rye on the nose. I was like, oh. But now when you say wheat, sorry, is it predominantly wheat, or this is like literally 100% wheat?
100% wheat. Yeah. So these 5 barrels, I've done a lot of different weird things that some I regret, some I'm really happy about as far as mash bills and stuff like that. So these 5 are 100% wheat mash. I've done a lot of blended mashes where it's a 70% rye, 30% wheat. I've added a lot of malted barley over the years, but in particular barrels, none of these don't have any malted barley. We do actually have a malted barley release probably in the next few years that I'm really excited about because I'm only doing a barrel of it a year.
Oh, really?
The first couple the years that we put down, I will send you a bottle because in my mind right now it is like liquid gold. I hope it stays that way. You never know over the years, right? So,
well, you got to get me up there so we can have some of it out of a bottle together. That's even better. I'd love to come up and visit you guys. Yes. Yeah, that'd be great. So I want to say, and again, every experience through whiskey, better shared, is a little personal. So if I'm pulling notes off here that don't jive, you can help me get what I should be getting out of it. But for me, I was mentioning a little bit of that rye, but that's not the main note whatsoever. For me, actually, it's rather kind of a bright fruity note. Like I want to say, there's a lot of different esters or fruits going on in here right off the top. Like
I see. For me, when I do pick up a little bit of a cereal note and the fruitiness. Like I do get the grain note to it too. I get a caramel note for me, and then I do like it was only in barrel for I think between 3 and 4 years, a little bit less than 4. These 5 barrels for the most part, but I do pick up some nice oak as well on the nose.
It's a sweet oak for me. It's a sweet oak, a sweet almond, like a little. Like I'm just saying, I'm getting a decent amount of sugars on the front.
Yeah, and when you do look at that molasses base, in X rum barrels, I do absolutely pick up that kind of molassesy, kind of sugary note as well.
I'm glad you said rum again because yes, I am getting a little bit of that molasses kind of sweetness to it. Absolutely. Oh, here we're going in. Cheers.
Cheers. Sorry, I had to.
I'll catch up. Don't worry about me. Oh, this does have a lot of flavor, but it actually has a nice ride in the palate where now I'm getting some of the notes. I was not on the nose, but I hear you now in terms of that bit of that caramel going on. Definitely a rum influence. Absolutely for me. Now there's a molasses sugar and the grainy, not grainy, but a little bit grainy on the nose has backed off a bit in the palate. And maybe because I read it with the chill filtered, but it also has nice mouthfeel, and I really look for that in a whiskey. I like it to be a little more coating, a little bit more body as I'm chewing it, and it's definitely got that for me, and I appreciate that a lot.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that because I'm a big proponent of not chill filtering your product, because I do feel like it removes flavor. In it's slight. But I do really feel strongly about that. So, that's we put it on the label because I want to make sure someone that throws this in the freezer, I don't know why you would, but someone that throws this in the freezer knows that, you may have that haze associated with it, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Second sip going in, I got a little bit of ginger spice in there. I don't know if you got that before. Yeah. Little bit of, I don't know if that's maybe some of the oak spicing coming through, maybe.
I feel it is. One of my operations manager, Jeff, really on this, he does pick up that kind of gingerbread kind of note.
Yeah. It's not a fresh cut ginger. No. Gingerbread's way better.
Gingerbread kind of, like a baked spice kind of note. Yeah, absolutely. I do pick up a lot of dried fruit again on the palate. Maybe a little bit of apricot.
I could do a bit of stone fruit in there. Yeah. Well, I want to say, Nick, thank you for sharing this dram with me. It's really tasty, and I know we're talking Latitude 55, but I will probably later tonight even pour it against Last Mountain. They're one of the Canadian distilleries that I've had a fair amount of their different single cask wheats over the years, and so I'm curious to see how it plays against their style. Have you ever had any Last Mountain?
No, I haven't. I can say, like, right now I'm really, and rightly or wrongly, I've been really into the rums the last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I will absolutely pick up a bottle. I'd love to try it because I love comparing. That's the one thing that we do at the distillery regularly is we make sure that we are, going and trying cool stuff from other places. That's the beauty, honestly, of having a full cocktail bar at your disposal. Sure. It really is. So our process, basically what we do, especially with a lot of our one-offs, is we'll put it behind the bar first. Just to see and we'll put it in a couple cocktails or on its own, just to see what the uptake is, see what people have to say about it. It's a really good laboratory for us to be able to get the sense of what, the local market anyway likes and doesn't like. So
absolutely. No, that's a great use of many different people's thoughts and interests and try it out at the bar. And what a great place. That's really cool. Hey, this is starting really, really well. Thank you for sharing it, Nick. I want to talk about, in a second, we're going to get to the cocktail bar. You sent me a Manhattan, so you're going to talk to me about if you guys do your own bitters or whatever. But here with whiskey, I don't want to go too far just yet. This is wheat. It's got, that aging in the rum, so it's got a lot of that sweet interplay and whatnot. But you mentioned a single malt maybe, but what else is coming next? Like if I'm following you guys, I should say that. How do I know what's coming next? Do you guys have a newsletter or some way we can find you?
Yeah, you can check us out on Facebook. We're on all the social media. That is not my area of expertise whatsoever. I have a great person that she manages that exceptionally well. But for me, I'm more in the back. But yeah, we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok.
Now, I got a question here from Quebec because it does talk about some shipping here on your website over. Yeah. You guys ship into Quebec?
We ship Canada wide. Yeah, we ship Canada wide.
Nice.
And yeah, it's so if you check out the website, you can obviously get a lot more detail about a lot of the products that we are offering. We just came out with a cinnamon whiskey under the Broken Oak brand. That is,
Yeah, I saw that.
It's so all natural. We're not no artificial ingredients whatsoever. It's basically Jumeirah sugar, in a simple syrup that we make in house. 2 different types of cinnamon, Celeron, and just regular cinnamon sticks, and then our Canadian whiskey. Fantastic. And then, like I said, I don't know when it's going to come out, but we have some really cool, weird stuff. Like I put a whiskey down in an ex old fashioned barrel that we have. That's about. I put it right in. I'm like, I'm not finishing it. I'm going to throw it right in and see what it does over the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it is. So yeah,
that's awesome. You got any peated stuff coming? I ask every single Canadian distiller that. Do you have any peated stuff coming?
So we have 2 barrels of peated single malt, like malted barley. We have 2 barrels of that are both around 4 years old at this point in time. I don't know when we're going to release it, but it will be there.
Cool. Okay, it's good. I look forward to it. The thing is, I've different sometimes I'm a peat head and I can't get out of it. It's all I want to drink for months at a time. And then all of a sudden I need sherry and I'm all into the sweet sherry finishes and whatever. It's like, I don't have a consistent type. Although I do tend toward malts, like malted barley, single malts. I do tend into that area, or rye. And that's why, like, this is a really, it's playing up a little sweet, not like negative. I'm just saying this is a bit of a sweeter whiskey for me, a bit desserty, a bit creme brulee-ish, that kind of, and with that good mouthfeel, that's kind of where it's playing out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we were going for. We wanted something that, that is more to your introductory, your average whiskey drinker. We wanted something that was a little bit more open and accessible, I guess, with this, because the first 2 releases were very distinct in flavor and fantastic, but very distinct in flavor. So that's the cool thing about doing small batch.
Yes, and I love that in the sense that you don't have to try to get like the same taste every time you come out. You can have a different approach for the next 5 casks or the next 2 casks, the next 10 casks. And I certainly will appreciate it for that. It's interesting you mentioned the 40% is also a little more approachable, and it really, really is. When I was talking to Cooper Sleeman, one of his whiskeys is also at that 40%. And for him, he said, we wanted as many people to try this and enjoy it as possible. And maybe that's part of the factor here, because it really drinks quite nicely at that. It really is a nice, approachable. It's still a whiskey. Look, don't get me wrong. I pour this to people that don't drink whiskey, and they'll still be like, oh, it's a whiskey. But I'm just saying it is an approachable whiskey.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were going for in this instance. So I'm really glad that it is, wheat tends to be a lot sweeter than some of the other grains that you can use. And then adding, finishing in, using some ex rum barrels, it just takes that up even more.
It did. It did, and it's drinking and setting up that way. Okay, I did tease this a little bit, but I do want to talk about your Manhattans. Now, I'm hoping you can talk me through, like, is this a whole series of pre-made cocktails you guys release, or is it?
So we've done 2 the 2 so far under the Latitude guys. We will. We're looking at another one coming out in the fall. Yes. Nice. See, you've got a nice glass. That's perfect.
I thought, look, if I'm having a Manhattan, it's going to be in a rocks glass. And I got this one from you guys last time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So our Manhattan is one I'm really proud of. It's won a gold award at the Canadian Artisanal Spirits Awards back a couple years back. If you're a cocktail drinker, you will appreciate this drink. You will appreciate that Manhattan. So what we do is we actually we don't make our vermouth, obviously. Well, not obviously, but we don't make our sweet vermouth. We purchase vermouth, and we use our rye whiskey and aromatic bitters that we're working with an Edmonton company on proprietary bitters. We could make our own, but we really like that relationship right now. So,
Okay.
so what we do is that we take that and we actually mix it all together, and then we throw it actually in a barrel. So it sits in a barrel for 7 to 9 months.
Wow.
And then and then we pull it out, and we obviously run it through just a filter to get out any of the particulates, and it goes in the barrel. Bottle.
Nice. Yeah, and beautiful looking color. It's the right glass. We were talking about this, you guys. It's a broken oak glass right there. So, cheers.
Cheers. I think I got one back here. I don't have the right glass, but we'll do that together. Just 1 second.
Oh, sorry. I sipped it. I said cheers and sipped it.
I did it. I did it early on you last time. So we're even.
All right,
cheers.
good. Cheers. There, that's better. Hey, I'm curious of the people that have joined us online. It's nice to see you guys chatting with each other and whatnot. And we had a couple questions about shipping, and a couple of people have said they're going to be ordering from you guys. So that's awesome. Do you guys like these? Like, this is very flavorful. Sorry, I don't want to move off too quick. Lots of good flavor going on here. This is certainly something that I'm going to enjoy. I tend to like, I should have put a little twist of orange on the edge of it a bit too, because I think this would really balance with that. Sometimes I can go cherry, but for me right now, this would be orange. I'm just
this
saying.
Is a more citric. The Manhattan I find is better with the citrus, either a lemon or an orange peel. Orange tends to have that little bit more, a little bit sweeter note to it, but either works really, really well.
Yeah, but I was and I was just going to ask the few that have come in here. Do you guys like? Have you taken to some of these pre-made? Because when they first started hitting the shelf, I resisted. I'm like, look, I can make that. I know how to make that. I've made it before. And I have to say, this is really tasty. I'm really enjoying it. And being able to have a friend over, like, we're doing a barbecue kind of thing, and be able to pull this out and just start enjoying it together is really nice. I really like that now. So I appreciate that. How about anyone who's been tuning in here? Do you guys make your own? Do you buy these pre-made ones? What are you guys thinking? And while you're thinking that, Nick, how about yourself and your journey? Now that you guys make it so well, I mean, obviously I can't make it like put it back into oak like you guys do. So this has some flavors I'm just never going to get if I don't buy this.
And that's the cool thing about it, to be honest with you. There's just as much craft in my mind in making a cocktail like that as there is in making, the original whiskey, because it takes that original whiskey, that rye whiskey, and basically we're doing the same thing here. We're adding certain levels of vermouth, we're adding certain levels of bitters, trying to come up with the best flavor profile, and then we're tasting it once a month once it goes in the barrel, and because we don't want too much wood, right? Well, we want enough wood so people recognize it's barrel aged. It's it's definitely got its own, in my mind, craft behind it. I mean, I'm sure there's people, companies out there that are just putting everything in a tank and putting it in a bottle. That's not what we're doing. So it's just as much craft as the spirits that we're making, in my mind.
Well, and again, I appreciate you saying that to the group too, because there are some, I think, that are a little more kind of recipe-ish back here. Not a lot of craft. I don't know how to say it. Like you said, put in a big ton or a big toad or whatever, and it tastes close. But the way you describe it, there's just as much craft in creating a beautiful Manhattan. And so thank you for sharing it with me. It's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Like it's fantastic. If you are a cocktail drinker, every cocktail drinker I've ever given this to has really appreciated it.
And I can appreciate Canadian Chris saying too, like, it's nice. And that's why I said it, with friends and sharing, it does get us to that enjoyment. But just like, I also tinker around with coffee. I weigh it. I try different things at different press or whatever. And it's nice to make your own stuff too. But it's good to know quality craft, pre-made cocktails like this are out there. Yeah.
And it is. It's like Canadian Chris was saying, it is for, taking it to a party, or, you don't have the time to go get all your ingredients that you need for your cocktail and you're having friends over on the golf course, camping, whatever. It's kind of portable. And that's the beauty of it. You can still have a really good quality cocktail and have it be portable. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I've already asked you about Pete. We've already done your newsletter. You've said you shipped across Canada. I'm enjoying this Manhattan. What would you want to share? Like, I will say, I'm recognizing most of the names that have come on here, but lots of times replay it will be picked up because the hashtags will be Grande Prairie or whatnot. Do you want to promote? Are you guys doing a tasting, or do you do like what kind of thing that might be coming up at Latitude that you'd like to say? Hey, this is coming up. You guys should come on out.
Well, what is coming up, and I don't know if it's sold out or not yet. Is in a couple of weeks later in July, where I'm actually doing a limoncello class. So we have the Travel Alberta has done us a solid over a couple of years ago, and they partnered with us, and we were able to purchase a smaller still and some associated materials with Travel Alberta's help. And now we do basically events where come and make your own gin. So I do a little bit of preparation because I need to for some of these things. But we have a classroom of people come in. You know, it could be 10, could be 15, could be 20 people come in, and they pick the botanicals, for an example, in the gin. They'll rind the lemons for me. Although I do have some lemon steeping over a period of time to get the proper flavor profile. But we're doing cool stuff like that. So, and basically they walk out of there with their own limoncello bottle, which is pretty cool, I think. Yeah.
No, that sounds like a great event. I noticed, and maybe this is related to that partnership. I don't know if my camera's going to catch it, but I'm going to try. Come on, camera. There's a little bit of some kind of Alberta sticker there, product of Alberta. Is that a little bit based on this partnership?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm a proud Albertan at this point. I was born and raised in Manitoba. If you're talking about football or hockey teams, Winnipeg Jets, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 100%. That's never going to change, and I think people can respect that. Although Connor McDavid is absolutely the best player on earth, I can recognize that.
That's good.
Recognize greatness. But for me, it's important to me to show that we're Albertan first, right? And Canadian, and really, I'm proud to be up here in Grande Prairie. I'm proud to work with the team that I work with at Latitude. I'm really fortunate in having great partners, having a great team surrounding me, and being in an area that is truly, in my mind, an Alberta gem and undervalued a lot of the time. It's not a bit as big of a center as Calgary or in Edmonton.
Right.
But man, we do have some cool things going on here.
Absolutely.
And just being a part of that. So, bringing people in because, I know limoncello traditionally and Italian kind of, liqueur and stuff like that. But it's fun to do. And that's the kind of the experience that we're trying to promote. And give to people. So it may be a one-off. We may not do it again. We'll see how it goes. But it's always, we come up with ideas like that. Like I said, I have a fantastic team that I work with, and we come up with ideas with that. And sometimes I need a little bit of prodding and moving forward. Say, okay, are you going to be here to do this or be here to do that? But yeah, I'm super excited about it. So I figured I'd mention it.
No, it's fantastic. I asked, genuinely interested, and definitely people said, hey, if they're in the area, that would be something they'd love to drop in. It's nice to see that you're getting some.
There we go. I appreciate the love. That's fantastic.
That's great. Hey, so what haven't we talked about? And I'm saying that to the people that have tuned in live as well, because we started with your journey, which was different, I need to say, than any other distiller that I've talked to, because I get to talk to people like yourself that are now in small and in craft, and I love it. But you started in the big house. You started in the biggest house, I think, in Canada, anyways.
It's one of the biggest for sure.
And now you're in Alberta, loving Alberta. You're in Grande Prairie, making just a variety of cool stuff. But what would you want to share with anyone yet that we haven't touched on? Anybody in the chat, what would you guys like to know about Nick or about Latitude 55 or distilling in Alberta? Any questions that are out there? We've talked about shipping. We can get it across Canada. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We do ship regularly to pretty much every province out there. And, if you're from the Northwest Territories, you can actually go to any of your liquor stores in NWP because we partnered. So one of the cool things, and if you look at the label real closely, we partnered with a Northwest Territories artist named Robbie Craig. So he's the one that designed the bison on the front.
Oh,
And if
okay.
you look at our gin on our website, yeah, he designed the rabbit for the gin and the actual landscape for our Kakwa rum. So that's something people don't always recognize. Robbie Craig is a well-known artist, I think, in Canada in general.
Yeah.
And he's the gentleman, and he does such a fantastic job of designing the labels. Designing the artwork for the labels. We have a great team that actually puts all that artwork together and makes it into a label. But so that's something that probably people don't know. So you're actually getting, Robbie Craig artwork every single time you purchase a bottle, which is pretty cool from our Latitude, our Latitude 55 core brands.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, you'll have to create a label now that I can easily remove this when I've enjoyed the spirit and put it here in the nook.
That is a great idea. Maybe like a peel away or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, something, right? So I can keep the. That's great. Nick, I've had a great time tonight. I've appreciated the wheat whiskey here. That is this here, the Latitude 55 wheat whiskey. Yes, we can order it, but it's available across most places in Alberta, at least, or no? Like,
yes, you can pick it up in the Northwest Territories and almost everywhere in Alberta. We've got a few stores in Edmonton, a few stores in Calgary, everywhere locally, Grande Prairie and surrounding areas. If you can't find it in your local liquor store, ask for it. That's what I would ask, from people that are watching, because it does a huge. It's a huge thing for a small craft distiller to have people asking for your product, because the liquor stores, they'll call you up and basically they may bring it in. The more people that ask, the better chance we are and the more stores we can be in. So
and you know what I found when I do ask a local and they're actually quite willing. Like if I get it, especially if I'm excited, they'll bring it at minimum a case, right? And so then I get to enjoy it, but then other people will get exposed to it too. So it's a pretty cool idea.
And then the only way a lot of times that happens, especially for small distillers, is you got to ask. You got to ask that store manager to bring it in. So
yeah, right on. Okay, well, thanks to everyone who's joined us here. And Nick, again, I've said thanks a few times because the whiskey is good, and so is Manhattan.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. This has been
Claude. Yeah, we're wrapping up, and then Claude just said, "Wait a second, we didn't talk enough about your stills. Like the stills that you're using. Is it column? Is
a great
hybrid? So just before we go, we can get back into stills. I got some time. You got time?"
Yeah, for sure. So our distillation process is we've got a batch still with a few columns. I've got a whiskey column. I've got a vodka column on there. And I've got a gin basket on there as well. So what we do is I do two distillations, and I should have mentioned this because this is actually really important to our process. So I'm really thankful for the question. I single distill and I double distill. So I'll single distill and put away a small percentage, probably 20 to 25% of everything that we make is single distilled and put away. So it goes through our whiskey column, comes out at around between 65 and 60% alcohol overall, and we'll put that away once we have enough. It takes me usually 3 to 4 distillations to get enough to put into fill a 53-gallon barrel. But I also will hold back the larger percentage and then redistill it a second time just to really try and pull a little bit of flavor, make it more of our base, as it were. We typically do this with our wheat, but we do this with everything, more so with wheat. We're taking a little bit more of the conagers out, making it a little bit narrower. So when we do double distill, I strip a little bit more aggressively because I know I'm going to be double distilling it. And I single distill, it's a little slower, a little bit more, thoughtful, I guess is the word. So
yeah, for sure. Okay.
So, yeah, and
when you go into barrel, what do you tend to put it in at? What's the proof?
We typically for single distill, we're anywhere between like a 59.5, depending to 63, 64%, somewhere in that range typically. So lower proof. Double distill, obviously we're coming off distill in the very high 80s or low 90s. I don't like going up into the 93s and 94s because I feel like it removes too much. So like an 88 to like a 92 kind of is typically where we come off after the second distillation. And with that, we'll proof it down to anywhere between 66, 65, sometimes a little bit higher, depending on what we have for volume, finished volume. We might get into like 68 or a 70 every once in a while. Oh, really? But yeah, no, it's not typical. But, you know,
that's pretty high.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, when you look at like my background in Crown Royal, there was a lot of stuff put away at that 66, 68% range. So I do have that background and that understanding. So I've tried to steal with pride, as they say, some things, although it is a completely different process. So
yeah. And you're aging your rick house. Is it on site in that fire hall somewhere in the back?
Yeah, it is on site.
Different location.
It is not ideal. From an ullage perspective, it is not ideal. So, you know, that angel share is high, but we've done some things in the new facility to kind of mitigate that. It's in its own room. We do have some of our packaging, finished packaging there as well. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you asking the question, Claude. So what we do is actually put a misting system in, really basic. You know, we're 2 or 3 times a day, I'm trying to keep the humidity up in that room.
Yeah.
I can't do a lot with temperature, unfortunately, because I don't have the temperature control that I'd like. So in the summer, you know, you could be up 25, 26 degrees. In the winter, we actually keep it really cool, maybe 13, 14 degrees in that room. But it's always, I try to keep it between 30 and 40% relative humidity. You know, Alberta's dry. So really trying to mitigate it that way.
Right. And I was talking to Anoka, and he's rebuilt kind of a rick house over ground that, like, you know, not far down, whatever that means, 20 feet, I don't know. There's like a natural underground river. And so now he's got this house on there, like this shed, it pulls the water up, and he's up in the 70% humidity.
Oh yeah, I wish I could be that high. It doesn't work well. I don't have the same. Anoka's doing some fantastic things. I will say he's done really cool. Some of his latest releases are quite good, and I do think there's very purposeful. He's been very purposeful in what he's done, but no, I don't have the luxury of that, unfortunately.
No. But I just meant, like, I recently had that conversation about humidity, and it's good to hear that you're working on that misting. Like, you can't get it to that range, but it does make such a difference in how that whiskey is aging in the barrels.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like, we're at more of our old facility, but starting in a new, we're losing 10% of our product a year. So if you're aging your whiskey 3 years, it's a 30% loss. That's not sustainable. So we really trying to do some things to mitigate that. And we're down in the 6% range, 6.5%, which is much more sustainable. Just by doing literally buying some stuff on Amazon and trying to, like, basic, right? Anybody could do it, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, that's. It's good to know you've seen that positive change, because, you know, I'm hoping to talk to you every year for the next, I don't know how long, but a long time.
That'd be fantastic.
And in order to do that, though, you know, you got to keep the lights on. You are making a good product because you're passionate about it, but it's got to make some economic sense. So I get you. If you're losing 30% in 3 years, that's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, it is. So, you know, it's a work in progress. Like, I think if you talk to any distiller, you're always working on something. Nothing's ever perfect, right? And if you had all the money in the world, it still wouldn't be, but that's not the case in my case. So, yeah.
Great. Really thankful, Claude, that you asked that question, because it did set us off in some stuff that I overlooked, and I apologize. I love to know your process, and this even where you ended up with how we're aging is awesome too. So, thanks, Nick. Thanks for joining us. Everyone online, thank you.
I appreciate everybody's comments, and I appreciate you having me.
Right on. You guys have a good night. See you on the next one.